The United States of America, without an army. No Marines storming the beaches, no jets roaring across the sky, no Navy patrolling the seas. A world superpower, suddenly defenseless. What would happen if overnight the United States had no military at all? Would the world collapse into chaos or find peace for the first time in centuries? This is the story of a world without America's armed forces and the silent storm that would follow. For more than 2 centuries, the U.S. military has stood as one of the most powerful forces in human history. With over 1.3 million active personnel and a defense budget larger than the next 10 nations combined, it projects power across every ocean and continent. From the beaches of Normandy to the skies over Baghdad, America's military presence has shaped wars, politics, and even economies. But what if, somehow, it was gone? Not weakened, not restructured, gone. No Pentagon, no soldiers, no nuclear arsenal. In this thought experiment, we'll explore what happens when the world's most formidable military disappears, and how that single event could reshape every nation on Earth. The first thing to understand is this: the American military isn't just about war, it's about balance. Right now, American bases stretch across more than 70 countries, from Japan to Germany to the Persian Gulf. These bases act as stabilizers, invisible anchors that prevent local conflicts from spiraling out of control. Without them, the global order begins to tremble. In Europe, NATO would fracture almost instantly. The alliance relies on American logistics, intelligence, and nuclear deterrence. Without the U.S., smaller nations would face enormous pressure from regional powers: Russia, Turkey, even China. In the Pacific, China's influence would surge overnight. Taiwan's independence, gone within weeks. The South China Sea, fully controlled by Beijing. And in the Middle East, where American aircraft once filled the skies, rival powers would scramble for dominance. Iran, Israel, Saudi Arabia, each preparing for wars they no longer believe anyone will stop. The United States military doesn't just defend borders, it fuels economies. Millions of American jobs depend on the defense sector. Engineers, scientists, shipbuilders, pilots. Entire towns across the U.S., from Virginia to Texas to California, are built around military bases. Remove the military, and an economic collapse follows. Defense contracts vanish overnight. The stock market plummets. Companies like Lockheed Martin, Boeing, and Northrop Grumman gone, and with them hundreds of thousands of jobs. Globally, the dollar weakens, allies panic, oil markets spiral. For decades, the presence of the U.S. Navy has kept shipping lanes open and secure. Without it, piracy surges. Insurance rates skyrocket. Trade slows. The invisible network of stability, gone in an instant. Power abhors a vacuum. Without the United States military, others rise to fill the void. China accelerates its dominance, expanding beyond the Pacific into Africa, South America, and even Europe through economic and military means. Russia moves swiftly into Eastern Europe, reclaiming influence lost after the Cold War. Regional powers, India, Turkey, Iran, seize the chance to expand their borders or sway. The global balance shifts from unipolar, one dominant power, to multipolar chaos. no one country strong enough to enforce order. Every nation watching its neighbors with suspicion. And while many celebrate the end of American imperialism, what follows isn't peace, it's uncertainty. Wars break out in forgotten corners of the world. Conflicts that once seemed contained reignite. Because for all its flaws, the American military acted as a kind of global referee. And when the referee leaves the field, the game turns violent. Inside America, the effects are just as devastating. With no armed forces, the U.S. becomes vulnerable, not just to invasion, but to internal fragmentation. States begin to question federal authority. Border patrols vanish. Cyber defenses collapse. The National Guard gone, leaving natural disasters and civil unrest unchecked. In days, panic spreads. In weeks, militias form. And in months, the United States begins to fracture, economically, politically, even geographically. Allies look away. Enemies look closer. For the first time since 1812, the mainland feels truly unprotected. Then comes the most terrifying part of all, the nuclear question. America currently holds around 5,000 nuclear warheads. If the military vanishes, who controls them? In this scenario, without trained forces, command structures crumble. Launch codes, safeguards, and response protocols gone. Nuclear weapons become orphans, and in the hands of chaos, even one could destroy civilization. For decades, nuclear stability rested on deterrence, the idea that mutual destruction prevents war. But deterrence only works if someone is left to pull the trigger. Without the American military, the system breaks. Years later, the world would be unrecognizable. New empires rise, some democratic, most not. The United Nations, once backed by American strength, fades into irrelevance. The dream of global peace, once again, out of reach. Trade networks fracture into regional blocs. Space exploration stalls. Technology slows. And the story of the 21st century becomes not of unity, but of survival. Without the American military, the world doesn't find peace. It finds uncertainty. Because peace, it turns out, isn't just the absence of war. It's the presence of balance. So what if America had no military? Maybe the world would cheer. Maybe the world would mourn. But one truth would remain. Power never disappears. It only moves. And when it moves, it changes everything. What if the next superpower is already waiting?